For 6 years, Graham Foster existed as a character whose story appeared finished. His apparent death in 2020 seemed definitive, closing the chapter on one of Emmerdale's most calculating and enigmatic figures. Then, unexpectedly, he returned. The surprise comeback arrived through Corriedale, the unusual crossover event that briefly united Emmerdale and Coronation Street earlier this year. For longtime viewers, the return immediately raised questions. Not only was Graham alive, but he was also involved in a mysterious operation connected to a woman named Jodie Ramsey. The situation looked troubling from the start. When audiences first saw Graham again, he was transporting Jodie against her will. She eventually escaped and later became a disruptive presence in Weatherfield, creating problems that spread across Coronation Street. Yet as Jodie's story moved forward, the circumstances surrounding Graham's involvement remained largely unexplained. That uncertainty quickly created a different kind of mystery. Many viewers assumed Graham had been hired to eliminate Jodie. The imagery of the storyline seemed to point in that direction, and because the crossover moved quickly, details were left open to interpretation. As a result, Graham's motives became one of the lingering unanswered questions following the event. Now, actor Andrew Scarborough has provided clarification that significantly changes the way the story is understood. According to Scarborough, Graham was never planning to kill Jodie. Instead, he had been hired to transport her to another individual. The distinction may seem small on the surface, but it dramatically alters the moral framework of the storyline. Rather than acting as an executioner, Graham appears to have been operating under a set of assumptions that later proved questionable. The actor explained that Graham believed he was dealing with someone dangerous. The implication was that he had been given information portraying Jodie as a threat. And whether that information was intentionally misleading or simply incomplete remains unclear. But Scarborough suggests Graham eventually realized that the situation was not what he had been led to believe. That realization becomes the turning point. Instead of completing the assignment, Graham chose to release Jodie. From a storytelling perspective, this transforms the character's role. The focus shifts away from criminal intent and toward manipulation, misinformation, and moral judgment. Graham is no longer positioned as the primary danger within the situation. Instead, attention moves toward the unseen figure who commissioned the operation in the first place. And that figure may be far more significant than initially expected. Scarborough revealed that the person waiting to receive Jodie is powerful, wealthy, and ultimately more dangerous than Jodie herself. What makes this particularly intriguing is that the individual has not yet appeared on screen. Their influence exists entirely through implication. In television drama, unseen characters often serve a strategic purpose. They create narrative space for future revelations while allowing writers to establish tension without immediately exposing all the facts. In this case, the mystery surrounding Graham's client appears designed to extend beyond the crossover itself. That suggests the story may not be finished. Scarborough hinted that viewers will gradually learn more about the people connected to the operation. The actor stopped short of providing specifics, but his comments indicate that additional information is planned for future episodes. What stands out is the measured way the production appears to be handling the mystery. Rather than rushing to explain every detail, the storyline is unfolding in fragments. Small pieces of information are being released over time, allowing the audience to reassess earlier assumptions. This approach creates intrigue without relying on dramatic twists that contradict previous events. It also helps explain why Graham's return generated such divided reactions. Scarborough admitted that he initially had concerns about the storyline that brought Graham back from the dead. Those concerns are understandable. Bringing back a character who is believed to be dead is always a risky decision. If handled poorly, it can undermine past storylines and weaken emotional stakes. Yet the crossover appears to have been designed less as a permanent resolution and more as a mechanism for reopening Graham's narrative possibilities. In that sense, the return functions as a bridge rather than a destination. While questions about Jodie and the mysterious client remain unresolved, Graham's attention has already shifted back toward events in Emmerdale. The village is currently dealing with escalating tensions involving the Dingles and the Tates, whose conflict over land continues to fuel instability. Against that backdrop, Graham is becoming increasingly embedded in the community once again. However, another storyline may prove even more important to his future. Recent episodes have focused on Kyle Winchester and the disturbing revelation that he has been responsible for a series of fires. The arson storyline has moved beyond a simple mystery and evolved into an examination of a vulnerable young person struggling with deeper emotional issues. It is within this storyline that Graham is expected to play a significant role. According to reports, Graham will soon take Kyle under his wing following the teenager's crimes. The development is notable because it positions Graham not as an antagonist, but as a mentor figure. For a character historically associated with manipulation, violence, and secrecy, that represents a meaningful shift. Whether Graham can genuinely help Kyle remains uncertain. What is clear is that Emmerdale is using Graham's return for more than nostalgia. His reappearance reconnects unresolved mysteries from the crossover, while simultaneously placing him at the center of some of the show's most consequential current storylines. For now, the questions surrounding Jodie Ramsey, the powerful unseen client, and the true extent of Graham's involvement remain unanswered. But with further revelations promised and Graham becoming increasingly important to events in the village, the story appears far from over, and the most revealing chapter may still be waiting to emerge.